to Reverend Bill Barnes, who's the pastor of Edge Hill United Methodist Church, and also the founder, one of the founders of the Luke 14:12 program dealing with hunger in Nashville. Welcome to Black Pulse, Reverend Barnes.
Thank you, Dr. Haney.
Reverend Barnes, we'd like for you to talk about some of your experiences in the area of feeding the hungry. We know that you've been involved in this area for the last 25 or 30 years, that you've participated in a number of programs directed toward the hungry in Nashville. So we'd like for you to tell us about some of those experiences.
Sure. I started, Dr. Haney, in 1966 as pastor at Edge Hill. We are a block east of the beginning of a ring of subsidized housing, somewhere around 5,000 folks in various types of subsidized housing, so that we are daily in relationship to a low-income community. Very early on, we were struck by the fact that 91% of the families in those units are single-parent headed. Household income averaged less than $4,700 a year. It was very important, therefore, to try to extend some ministry to children in that area. So for most of the 21 years that I've been there, we've offered children food, for example, in the summer. When school's out, if they've been used to school lunches or school breakfasts, what do they do in the summer? We have always had programs for children, anywhere from 100, 110 children a day down to a more manageable 70 per day for the 5 weekdays. Up until 1980, we were able to prepare a hot lunch for those children on a daily basis. The U.S. Department of Agriculture had a refunding program that let us make a balanced hot lunch for the children, and that was a great pleasure. Well, when the new administration was elected in 1980, they no longer allowed churches to prepare those meals, so that we have availed ourselves of the Metro Action Commission program of box lunches. Wish we could still do the other. Maybe there'll be a day when we can.
Now, is this the same program that SPeters is also in charge of?
The one we use now is, yes. When I think there were some problems in some of the programs around the country. There were some scandals, money scandals and so forth, so that they terminated the possibility of churches and others preparing the meals on site.
Now, what impact did that have on your program in feeding that large number of youngsters in that area?
Well, naturally, I feel, Dr. Haney, that to provide a hot, freshly prepared, full meal to those children is ultimately worth more than the box lunch coming in. Although I'm not overly critical of that. It's something, and it's important. I just feel like the morale, the preparation on site, the slanting the menu toward the needs and desires of the kids was a very important thing, had high morale to it. And so, not being able to do that anymore, we use the box lunch, which is obviously much better than nothing.
Now, you've developed a program called Luke 14:12. Perhaps you'd like to tell us something about that program.
Be glad to. Almost 5 years ago, when there seemed to be a dramatic increase in the number of homeless people in town. There were articles in the paper of people who had previously provided service programs were saying, gosh, it's getting too big for us. We need some help with this stuff. At that time, about the time that was appearing in the newspapers, a man came into the church one day from the community and just said point blank, look, I'm hungry, I don't have anything to eat, I've been unemployed, I need food. We happened to have for the staff a soup cooking on the stove. He must have drunk 5, 6 bowls of that soup. We decided then and there to try to get into the food serving business, so that we picked up on a grant from the United Methodist District Hunger Fund with the idea of serving 25 folks each of 2 days a week through the year. Well, we got the grant. Pretty soon there were 50 and then 60 and 70. We serve an average of 80 to 100 people on Tuesdays and Fridays. Now, we work in tandem with Holy Name Catholic Church, which feeds 3 other days. The Downtown Presbyterian Church serves 50 people on another day, and Christ Church Episcopal provides a box lunch for folks on Sundays. Between those organizations, the Union Mission, the Salvation Army, somewhere there is a meal for people every day for three meals a day.
Very well. As a person who's worked in the area for so long, what would you suggest that we could do as a community and again as a nation in order to deal with the question of hunger in America?
Well, I think several things, Dr. Haney. I think we certainly need to address ourselves to the gap between available programs and the people who are using those programs. Roughly 1/3 of the people who are eligible for food stamps use that program. Partly because so many of the funds for outreach have been diminished or cut. Partly because we still carry the notion that if you avail yourself of these programs, you're a disgrace or you're humiliated in some way or another. We need to continue to address ourselves to that gap between available programs and people who are using those, to encourage people to use television, to use all the means we have at our disposal to see that people who need those programs are using them. That's one thing very important. We need, in addition, to be constantly, at not only the national, but at the state and local levels, examining the gaps. Bread for the World, the National Hunger Organization, has lobbied for a bill in Congress which may be successful for a national hunger monitoring system so that we know and have much more hard data than we've got right now vis-a-vis hunger.
Very well. We're going to have to break here, Reverend Barnes, but we're glad that you came by to talk to us about this very important issue. We're going to have to wish you good night and invite you to watch next week for another informative edition of the Black Pulse of Nashville.